Well, the weekend has begun, and it's gonna be awesome. As you probably know, Stardom returned to Korakuen Hall with another big event, and this one features a double main event. The CML Japan Women's Championship will be defended. Koguma defends her belt against her fellow FWC tag team partner Azuki, who is also the Spark Yoshi World Champion. So the real question is, will Koguma prevail in her first time attempt in defending his belt, or will Azuki become two belts? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. And also, the Goddesses of Stardom tag team belts will be defended. Natsuko Tora and Rock, known as BMI 2000 members of Hate, will defend their tag belts against, of course, the members of God's Eye, more specifically Amisori, and of course Lady C, better known as the Riara Tokyo Towers. As probably you know, they have teamed up many times, but they have been disbanded. And then we move on with more with day 4 of the Road to King of Pro Wrestling by New Japan Pro Wrestling. As you know, the main event features, of course, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team belts. Well, those despicable pieces of garbages, Doki and Sho will defend their belts against El Desperado and, of course, Kukai, who has been teaming with him recently. But the real question is, will those idiots once again will use their usual tactics, or will El Desperado get a bit of a measure of payback for losing the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title? We'll just have to wait and see. AEW continues with their event at Daly's Place, featuring many matches. Kota Ibushi taking on, of course, Josh Alexander. Ty Mello, as you know, are putting themselves on the map to become the first ever AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions. We have, of course, a 6-woman tag team match featuring the members of Triangle of Madness taking on Toni Storm, Harley Cameron, and Kris Statlander. We even have, of course, the main event, FTR teaming up with Bayne to take on JetSpeed and Willow Nightingale. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And as always, we'll cap up our episode as usual with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J. Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere in pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough with the yapping. It's time to grab everything by the balls and move on. So, let's start with Stardom. Alright, Stardom. As you know, they just returned back to Korakuen Hall for another big event, and I said there's a double main event featuring 2 championship matches. Now, we'll get to that in a bit. Now, our first match, we opened up with tag team action. We have the members of EXV, more specifically Rian and Hanako. They take on the members of Neo Genesis, Miyu Amasaki, and Starlight Kid. Now, nothing too significant about this, but however, we know that Hanako has challenged Starlight Kid once before, but she came up short due to the fact that not even her strength was capable of doing that. But in the end, it was in fact Starlight Kid who walked away with the win when she applied a moonsault onto Rian, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, during the post-match, a familiar face from Starlight Kid's past just showed up out of the blue, Konami. Now, it doesn't take a true genius, which she's there for. Apparently, Konami has issued a challenge for the white belt once again. As you probably know, she did not succeed it the last time. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those moments where, of course, Hate are determined to prove that they are in control of Stardom. Now, we saw they have the red belt, the tag team belts, the artists, and they will do whatever it takes to obtain every belt in their possession to take control. And I'm sure Starlight Kid is not going to let this happen. Of course, she has no other choice, knowing too well that she is walking into this, because the last time she confronted Konami, they lost the artist belts. So we'll see where that happens. Now, our next match, we have the Mi Vida Loca, consisting of Akira Kurigani, Asuki Aoki, Rina Yamashita, and Bozilla. They face a very interesting combination. We have, of course, Kikyo Furuzawa and Sakurada, members of Cosmic Angels, their current younger members, Sayaka Kurara and Aya Sakura, and of course Saki Kashima. Now, of course, many of you know recently there has been a very strange kind of attention coming from Saki Kashima to Kurara, like hugging her, smelling her hair, which is a very bit weird. And of course, Kurara is trying to keep her distance. Now, it's still unclear why she's acting like this. I mean, I don't know if it's because of her connection towards Tam Nakano. We know she did the whole hair smelling to Tam in the past, which is still unclear to me. But however, Bozilla, on the other hand, has some unfinished business towards Kashima, and you know she is determined to break her. But what intrigues me is during this match is when Saki Kashima took a bullet for Kurara out of nowhere. This was something I never seen her do before, and she took it. But however, Kurara was smarter and decided to put Bozilla in her place when she won by countout. And of course, it might have been a big win for her, but however, Bozilla, as angry as she can get, she went on a rampage. And of course, Kashima went to save Kurara because she was in the clutches of Bozilla. But however, Bozilla, on the other hand, well, let's just say that she wants a match against Kashima. But I don't know what Kurara was thinking. So basically, she's just say yes, and that's it. Basically, I don't know. Some people were commenting that maybe this was a setup. Who knows? I don't know. But I thought it was just too darn funny. But I don't know. But the whole thing with Kurara and Kashima, that's something I would like to explore a little bit. It's some clear indication why she's acting this way. But if anybody knows, leave a comment down below. Now, our next match, we have a 3-way. We have Emma Maishima versus Waka Tsukiyama versus Mei Sita. Now, this match ended in 34 seconds flat. If you probably want to know how, well, Waka Tsukiyama once again pinned Mei Sita with the Oshi suplex, the same kind of move she used onto Nana Takahashi. And just like that, she already picked up 2 wins against her. But this time, Waka is asking for a match against her for the high-speed belt. Now, in the look of Mei Sita, she doesn't want to. I don't know what's the indication why she won't give her the belt. I mean, look, a part of me feels like there's still some unfinished business between Mei Sita and Yuna Mizumori. But it seems that Waka wants to be the first one to get that belt before she does. So, who knows? But we'll see what happens when the day takes place. Now, our next match, we have an interesting combination in this match. We have a 12-woman tag team match. Team number 1, we have the combined forces of Cosmic Angels, consistent of Yuna Mizumori, Sayuri Anu and Natsupoi, they team up with the members of Stars, consisting of him, Momokogo, and Saida, and they take on the members of Hate, consistent of Fukigen Death, Rina, Konami, Azusa Inaba, Momo Watanabe, and of course Sayakami Tani. Now, of course, we know that Hate likes to take pleasure, especially Konami, as you know, she took out Hanan in every way. We know that, of course, the Hate are determined to win their matches by using unnecessary tactics, using weapons to ensure that they win. But unfortunately, Konami got the last laugh by putting Saya Ida in a chokehold, and just like that, Ida had no choice but to tap out. And this is one of those things where, of course, the Hate are determined to prove that they are in control, not only in Stardom, but they want to take control of the entire Yoshi wrestling scene in Japan. Now, our next match, you can consider this one part of a preliminary match. We have the members of God's Eye, consistent of Rana Yagami, Hina, and Shuri, taking on Miku Kane, Chi-Chi, and Syuri. Now, for those who don't know, I recently reported that Syuri will defend the IWGP Women's Championship this coming Monday against Shuri, which is going to be a killer of a match. So you can tell who's going to build up the momentum on this one. Now, of course, Shuri will love nothing more to get her hands on Syuri in any way possible. But unfortunately, Shuri had to make Syuri watch when she takes on Miku Kane and put her in a submission and force her to tap out. But of course, during the post-match, we saw Shuri had some words to say to Syuri involving their match for this coming Monday at King of Pro Wrestling in New Japan. So we'll see how that will progress. Now, our next match, this is one of two championship matches in a double main event taking place. We have the CML Japan Women's Championship. Azuki issuing the challenge against her tag team partner, fellow FWC member Koguma. So, as you probably know, these two ladies, they have a long-standing history for many years. They were not only just rivals, they were also roommates, and they trained together. They even debuted together, and not to mention they're from the same area in Fukuoka. So that's the reason they have their name FWC. So, but of course, Koguma and Azuki are not afraid to face each other. I mean, they had some interesting moments, especially in their early years. It was about, of course, Azuki has always been the one who feels that she could never measure up to Koguma, but now this is those moments where she has to measure up to her too. But however, in the end, it was Azuki that walked away with the win, becoming the brand new CML Japan Women's Champion. And of course, that makes her a two-belt individual. Basically, there's that. I also want to point it out, after this match, there was a tweet coming from Mercedes Moné on her X account where she had these eyes emojis. I don't know if she has her sights set on that belt, or she cannot tolerate the fact that someone is also gaining more belts. Who knows? I know that Mercedes Moné had dealt with Azuki before, but we'll see. But anyway, in the post-match, we know they had some words to say between both, of course, Koguma and Azuki. Despite the fact that she lost, she will always love Azuki no matter what. And that's what matters. Their friendship and their bond is so much strong. Not only being tag partners and rivals, it's who they are together. And that's one of the best moments about them that I personally like. I mean, if I know for a fact these two will team up again, I wouldn't be surprised if these two will participate in the first ever AEW Women's World Tag Team Tournament, if that's the case, because it would be interesting to see them involved. But we'll wait. Now, our main event is the Goddesses of Stardom. These are the tag belts undefended. Natsuko Tora and Ruka, better known as BMI 2000, members of Hate, defend their belts against Ami Suri and Lady C, known as the Riara Tokyo Towers, members of course, of God's Eye. However, many of you may not know this. Both Ami Suri and Lady C have teamed up many times and they disbanded. But the reason they never teamed up often is because many of you may or may not know this. At the time, Lady C was a member of Queen's Quest. And of course, Ami Suri was still a member of God's Eye since then. But now that Lady C is a member of God's Eye, it's now a perfect opportunity, of course, for them to step up their game. And what I thought about this match, I have to say Lady C has picked up the pace and she's getting her footing. But however, when it comes to hate, you know their usual tactics. They will use whatever it takes to win, using distractions on the ref, using weapons. And that's exactly what happened. And then, of course, Natsuko Tora applied a swanton onto Syuri after she applied a mist onto her. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done, and they retained the championships. However, of course, when it comes to them retaining the belts, the real question is who's next. Well, the person who stepped up, the people that stepped up, is Rina Yamashita and Izuki Aoki, better known as Mi Vida Loca. So they became the next challengers. However, they had an unexpected visitor with Mayumi Ozaki. Many of you know her, the founder of Oz Academy and former leader of Ozaki-gun. However, as you all know, apparently hate invaded, of course, Ozaki-gun, tried to prove themselves that they are the baddest people on the planet. But of course, they want them to be the lower members of hate, like integrate Azuki-gun into that. But of course, Mayumi Ozaki, knowing her, she's not the type of person who would follow people like them. But she came up with the solution that losers will be in the handcuffs in their match. So that's something I would like to see. But we'll see what happens. But as of right now, we are officially done with Stardom. Let's move on with New Japan. Okay, New Japan Pro Wrestling as we continue with day 4, Road to King of Pro Wrestling. And as you know, this will happen this coming Monday. So mark your calendars on that, boys and girls. And this event took place at the Tokorosawa Municipal Gymnasium. Our first match, as you know, as always, we have the Young Lions taking the stage. We have Zane J teaming up with Masatora Yasuda, taking on Tatsuya Matsumoto and Shoma Kato. Now, of course, recently Zane J had a bit of a scuffle with Shoma Kato recently, and you probably can guess how that was going to be. But however, as many of you may know this or not, Kato is a bit above him in the hierarchy in the Young Lions, who has a bit of the experience. So Zane J had to learn the hard way when, of course, Kato put him in the Boston Crab, and just like that, Zane J had no choice but to tap out. Now, we have, of course, the young lion Katsuya Murashima had the pleasure to take on Shota Umino. Now, of course, it's no secret how this match was going to turn out regardless. Shota Umino was going to walk out, as the victor when he applied the lariat, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, we got the House of Losers, more specifically Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Sanada, taking on the War Dogs, Drilla Maloney and Clark Connors. Now, of course, it's no secret that Sanada is nothing but a big snake for what he does. Apparently cheats his way through using the guitar to get away with it. But of course, once again, he ran like a coward when he knows things were not going his way. So the match ended in a count out. But however, of course, Drilla Maloney said he wants him at King of Pro Wrestling in a no disqualification match, but Sanada was like, not happening. But apparently he told him, well, if you don't want it, then I'll use your guitar and whack your piece of garbage of a friend, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, which he was about to do. So he's telling him, hey, don't break the guitar, bro. Don't take it. It costs more money than you. But he was about to intend to use it, but Sanada had no choice but to accept it. But, oops. As the old saying goes, there's no honor among thieves. Or should I say, there is no honor when you make an agreement in some things like this. So Drilla Maloney whacked Yoshinobu Kanemaru with the guitar. And I'm sure Sanada wished things would have been different. But nope. Now, we did see Aaron Wolf, who is a Olympic gold medalist, who will be making his debut soon. Well, he was helping cleaning out the mess that Drilla Maloney made with the guitar. So that's what you do as a young lion in New Japan. Now, our next match, we have the other members of the House of Losers, more specifically Dick Toko, Don Fale, and Evil taking on Tiger Mask, Toru Yano, and Bolton Oleg. Now, this match is considered as a preliminary match due to the fact that Boltin Oleg will defend his never openweight championship against a man who has won this belt before, but once again he's a piece of garbage by claiming he is the real never openweight champion. But of course, when it comes to these House of Losers, they determine to use their usual tactics by cheating their way through, and that's exactly what happened. But we did see a combination of the grenade by Don Fale and the Scorpion Deathlock by Evil, and the referee called it because Tiger Mask had no option to get out. But of course, however, Boltin Oleg wasn't going to let this slide no matter what, so he took the fight to them. But I have to say it was uncalled for on its part because it was a numbers game. And of course, Evil walked away with the never openweight title, claiming that he is the true, real never openweight champion. But we'll see what happens. Now, our next match is a preliminary match in some ways. Tomoaki Hamno once again teams up with Yuya Uemura. Last time was with Shota Umino. They take on the Knockout Brothers, members of the War Dogs, consistent of Oscar and Yuta Ice. Now, of course, the Knockout Brothers are a bit more aggressive. They're determined to prove their point no matter what, and that's exactly what they've been doing this entire time. But in the end, of course, it was Oscar that had put Hamna in a sleeper hold in many ways possible until the ref called it off. But of course, the Knockout Brothers were determined to send a message to their opponents, to Uemura and Umino. But Umino was trying to do what he can to fight back, but it was just way too much. Of course, the Knockout Brothers are determined to prove their point that the tag team has become weak when no one was doing things right. But we'll see what happens until then. Now, our next match, we have Daiki Nagai, Titan, Shingo Takagi, and Yota Tsuji taking on the members of the War Dogs, more specifically Geto, Taiji Shimori, David Finlay, and of course Gabe Kidd. And this one is also part of a preliminary match due to the fact that Gabe Kidd will defend the Global Championship against Yota Tsuji, the man he defeated this belt for. But of course, we saw a lot of aggressiveness in this one. But I have to say, Daiki Nagai, I have to say he ended up in the worst position ever, taking on Finlay until Finlay put him into the oblivion, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, which is our main event, is the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Belt. Kukai and El Desperado make their first attempt as a team to take on the House of Losers, Doki and Sho, who we all know Sho is a piece of garbage, claiming that he thinks he's tough, but no, he's a pathetic little scum using tactics to win. Of course, we saw that's what they've been doing because they don't want to lose these belts, and that's the last thing they want because they say they are tough. Bullshit. Nope, they're not tough. They're losers. That's exactly what they are. And they use weapons to do that. And they did that again by using a plate onto Kukai. And of course, Doki picked up the win just like that. And they ran like cowards, proving that they are dominant. Sooner or later, someone's going to shut these guys. And I hope whoever they are make Sho and Doki cry like little girls. And that's exactly what they need. So as of right now, we'll wait what happened, hopefully on Monday, if that's the case. I'm not sure if there's another one coming up soon, but if they do, I'll review it. But if not, we'll wait until Monday. But right now, let's move on with our last and final review, and that is, of course, AEW Collision. Okay, last review, AEW Collision. As you know, they are in Daly's place. We opened up with the Golden Star, Kota Ibushi, taking on the Walking Weapon, Josh Alexander. Now, of course, you know this is something that snake Don Callis wants. He wants to dismantle Ibushi to send a clear message to Kenny Omega. As you know, Kenny Omega once again continued to drop a headache to Don Callis. But however, this match took a very nasty turn for Ibushi. He seems like a nasty spill, but all of a sudden, of course, this match was over in a countout. And of course, Don Callis was happy. But all of a sudden, Mark Davis showed up out of nowhere, intending to, of course, to take out Ibushi. But all of a sudden, Kenny Omega, taking back his cleaner persona, decided to take out the trash by using the trash can right into Mark Davis, then giving, of course, a B trigger to that idiot Josh Alexander, and then another trash can hit to, of course, Mark Davis. But of course, we know that Ibushi's hurt because it happened during tapings. So Ibushi will be, of course, taking some recovery. We don't know how long will that last, but we'll see. Now, our next match, we have Brian Keith and Big Bill taking on what used to be the Acclaim, Anthony Bowens and Max Caster. Now, once again, former tag partners, but now they're in their own way trying to prove who's better in what, and they're bickering. But some people would say maybe this is a good thing, maybe because sometimes when it comes to bickering, something's good out of it. And that's probably exactly what happened, because it was Bowens with the mollywop onto Brian Keith, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, in the backstage, the Bang Bang Gang, more specifically Juice, Austin Gunn, and Ace Austin were just minding their own business until, of course, they were interrupted by, of course, Brian Keith and Big Bill crying like little girls the fact that they lost to Anthony Bowens and Max Caster. But they're determined to take matters in their own hands, not to mention Ace Austin decided, how about you and me one-on-one, that sort of thing. But we'll see what happens. Now, our next match, we have Ty J, more specifically Anna J and Ty Mello. They take on Dream Girl Ali and, of course, Carolina Cruz. Now, this is part, of course, as you probably can guess, is for Ty J to put themselves on the map to become the first ever AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions. For those who don't know their history, these two ladies met themselves back in during the COVID area when they did a women's tag team tournament, and unfortunately they did not win, but their friendship was the biggest bond ever. And of course, that's always been their dream, to win, to have a women's tag team championship, and they could be the first. But we'll see what happens until then. But however, of course, this match ended very beautifully because it was going to be them. But it was a combination of the gory special and a knee strike that ended. I don't know who it was. I think it was Carolina Cruz that being on the wrong side of that. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, the conglomeration, we're doing an interview with Lex Lanier talking about, of course, Kyle O'Reilly talking about his loss to Kyle Fletcher. And then, of course, they talk about Mark Briscoe, who is well prepared to face Kyle Fletcher for the TNT title. And then, of course, Roderick Strong had some unfinished business with the Death Riders and Jon Moxley more specifically. But we'll see what happens. Now, speaking of the Death Riders, many of you may know this, during a New York Comic-Con, Darby Allin showed up out of nowhere and attacked Jon Moxley. And of course, the Death Riders are getting tired of Darby Allin, who seems that no matter what they do, no matter what they say, they will never put down Darby Allin. Like, they think that, oh, Darby is just being unreasonable, that he can't take the hint. But even Jon Moxley is trying to figure out how to put someone like him down, despite of everything. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, our next match, we have Toni Storm, Harley Cameron, and Kris Statlander taking on all members of the Triangle of Madness, more specifically Julia Hart, Sky Blue, and Tekla. Now, of course, there's going to be tensions in this match between both Kris Statlander and Toni Storm, due to the fact that at Wrestle Dream they will be facing each other for the AEW Women's World title. And that's something that may have been the thing that cost them, because it was Harley Cameron who got speared by Tekla, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Triangle of Madness walked away with the win. But they attempted to harm Harley Cameron, but somehow Toni Storm and Kris Statlander saw that coming. They were able to make Triangle of Madness run through the hills. Now, we did see Kenny Omega talking about what things was going on, until, of course, walking through the door, the last person he wanted to see was Jack Perry. But of course, Kenny Omega reminded him of what happened last time, of course, saying these things to him. And of course, Jack Perry told him, look, you don't have to trust me, alright? Because right now, you have no friends to back you up. But you and I have a common enemy, and that common enemy, of course, is the Young Bucks. So that lets it right there. But of course, Kenny made it clear he doesn't trust them. But we'll see. Now, in an interview with Kris Statlander and of course Harley Cameron, despite the fact they came up short, well, apparently effing Yuta once again. I don't know if he still thinks that Kris Statlander should join the Death Riders until Toni Storm showed up out of nowhere, but we'll see. Now, MXM Collection, well, MXM TV, well, they made their way to the ring to hopefully the showcase their skills, but they ended up on the wrong side of, the one team that is vicious and far more dangerous. We're talking about LFI. Now, we know that Mason Madden and Mansoor had dealt with, of course, with MXM Collection in the past when he was still teaming with Dustin. But this is different. He's facing not only Sammy, he's facing Rush, who is the most dangerous guy on the planet, and of course his brother Dralistico, who is agile and also very dangerous. And that's the last thing they needed. But unfortunately, we did see Taya Valkyrie try to help out in any way possible, but it was not enough until, of course, Mansoor got the bull's horn by Rush and then a swanton, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, while all 4 members of La Facción Ingobernable, AFI, were outside, well, Beast Mortos had to prepare himself against the man he has to face, Eddie Kingston. Now, Eddie Kingston, as you know, has made his return, and now he's determined, of course, to prove people wrong, and that's exactly what was going on, because as you know, Eddie Kingston has some unfinished business with Sammy, but unfortunately with Beast Mortos, he ended up on the wrong side of the back fist, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, we did see, of course, the Triangle Madness getting an interview with Lex Lanier until they were attacked by both Queen Aminata and Jamie Hayter. As you know, these ladies will be facing each other in the first ever women's Blood and Guts. We're still waiting to see who's going to be part of this whole thing. We know there's like a 5-on-5 type of match, but we'll see who would join. If I was a Triangle Madness, I definitely would have Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne by their sides. And there were talks and interviews with Tekla in hopes of expanding their, of course, their team. But we'll see. Now, Katsuyori Shibata, as you know, he's been known to use the phone to speak from. Well, he decided to send a message to Roosh, and of course, saying that, because of their tactics, that sets it up. But however, he did stated that they were willing to put the AEW World Trios titles on the line against LFI. So let's see what Rush would say. But we haven't heard anything just yet. Our main event, FTR, along with Megan Bayne, taking on JetSpeed and Willow Nightingale. But of course, factors of this, as you know, the Penelope Ford and that idiot Stokely was getting involved. But I love how Willow took matters in her own hands and tried to fight off both FTR. But of course, that idiot Stokely was going to distract referee, and then we'd see Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford applying a Doomsday onto Willow, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, Megan Bayne was determined to dismantle, of course, Willow Nightingale, but thank God for Harley Cameron, who saved the day. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if she teams up with Willow Nightingale, because I failed to mention that Kris Statlander said as much as she wants to focus on this, she has to focus on the title that she has at this point. So we'll see how things will happen between that. So as of right now, we are done with AEW Collision and every other review. Let's move on with our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So we only have one update with upcoming event. Now, many of you know this. I live in San Diego, California. Right across from me, we are next to Tijuana, Mexico, and there's a promotion right across from me, as you know, is called The Crash. Now, as you know, The Crash has announced for their upcoming event, which is their 14th-year anniversary. Names have been mentioned. Recently, I mentioned the Good Brothers will be involved, and so is Cibernetico and a few others. However, another name has been added, and this event will take place on the 7th of November. And that name is, of course, Andrade, who, as many of you know, he is the current Crash World Champion, so that's why he will be participating. But if anybody who's been known of that, get your tickets now for that. If you're in the San Diego area or in the Southern California area, doesn't matter, get your tickets now. Now for some developments. As you probably heard, there's been talks about TNA contracts coming up. Well, it's now been confirmed that dozens will be released. Contracts are set to end by this year. We know because members of the Rascals mentioned that. We don't know what's going to happen then. We don't know. There's those who will they keep, some who they let go. Now, interesting news. Many remember Go Shiozaki, who's been the ace of Noah, has all of a sudden made his jump to All Japan Pro Wrestling. But what's surprising, he is now the newest member of a faction consistent not only with him in it, so is Oddyssey Jones, Zion Quinn, and Shotaro Ashino, and together they're known as Havoc. So he is the latest member. Now to some interesting developments coming from WWE. One of them, as you know, there has been some releases. However, Jackson Drake, many of you know, who is the current Evolve Men's Champion, it was sources revealed that he has renewed his contract with them, so he is not going nowhere. However, other names have been mentioned. We have, of course, mentioned that there will be releases. Summer Sorrell, BJ Ray, and Hayes Jamison. These three names have been mentioned. They have been now officially released from WWE. Now, Tyson DuPont, many of you know him. He teamed up. He and Tyrick Week has been on a learning curve with, of course, Wesley. Well, he was deep shocked to hear about his release, but he had some things to say regarding about that. So let me pull it up for all of you. Here it is. This is what Tyson DuPont said. Man, this one hurts. Wes has always been one of the realistic, genuine energy, insane talent, and heart that made everyone around him better. You've inspired a lot of us in and out of that ring. I know this is the end for you. It's just the start of another chapter where you keep shining. Nothing but love and respect always, bro. So yes, it hurts, but they know they have to carry on, which is the one thing they have to do. Shuri, as many of you know, she'll be will be facing Syuri for the IWGP Women's Championship. But she said that she is expressed desire, if she wins this title, to defend it at, of course, Wrestle Kingdom, which is going to be good. And this is what she said about that. I think this is an event with a massive attention, so I believe we can spread excitement of Stardom and women's wrestling to a lot of people. That's why I'm having this title match in New Japan Ring is meaningful. This time, too, I want to make this hotly contested match. From the very first match, I want us to present a match that screams, this is women's pro wrestling. So that's what exactly she wants to do in New Japan. I mean, yeah, you can defend it in the ring, and I'm sure they can figure that one out, but we'll see. And finally, of course, Oddyssey Jones, as you know, he used to be part of NXT, then WWE main roster. Well, as you all know, he is currently in All Japan Pro Wrestling. And he had this to say because he is now part of a faction known as Havoc. I 100% believe that Havoc is the dominating faction in All Japan Pro Wrestling. Truthfully, we are the dominant new faction in all of Japan. So yeah, so basically Havoc has been making a name for themselves. I can't specifically say they are the dominant faction, but we'll see where that goes from there. But as of right now, we are officially done with our updates and everything else. Let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we have TNA Bound for Glory taking place soon. Hopefully I get the chance to review it for all of you. I know there's some Choco Pro events, and I need to catch up with other Yoshi events, especially also now recently with Mighty Gold as they begun their next tour, because on Monday, as you probably heard right about now, Mirai will be leaving Mighty Gold, and this could be the last time, but we'll see. But as of right now, we'll leave things as it is and move forward. But until then, I'll say this, that I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.